In this video, we are going to be going through a demo of ThunderPOS. Um, this is similar to a presentation you might get if you schedule time with us, although obviously that would be more tailored to your particular requirements. Um, but we're going to run through just kind of the basics of the software. For more details on these functions and more detailed areas about other features, I would recommend videos on those topics. My name is Jeremy Spencer. I'm the technical support manager here at Extreme Point of Sale Inc. We sell the Thunder POS software. It's very likely that if you call for support that I am among the people you will talk to. Um, and you can always reach out to us with questions if you're interested in getting a demo or getting help with a demo version of the software. You can reach out to us at support@thunderpos.com. You can also call us during our business hours, which are typically Monday through Friday at 8 to 5 Eastern, at 919-387-7597, extension 101 for support. If you're interested in talking to sales, then it's the same phone number with just the 100 extension. So what we have here is we have a database already set up with some inventory, and we're just going to run through and show off some basic functions of the software like items, like customers, um, checking out at the register, the kind of primary functions that you can do. And as I mentioned, you will want to look at other videos for more details because we're going to run through all this kind of quickly to go over all of it in the space of this video. So after logging into the system, you can reach items in a few different ways, but the easiest is simply by going to Store and then to Items. There are a number of other functions under Store that are related to items that we're not going to go into depth on in this video, but that we will mention briefly, including this is under Departments and Categories where you can create new departments or categories, and then under Vendors and Consigners you can create your vendors or your consigners, whichever are appropriate for the particular items you are adding. So if we go into items here, we'll see our inventory here. This database does have a number of just random products in it. It's a database we've used for a long time here for demonstrations. But I am going to actually go here and hit add, which will create a new item. And this is creating a new item from scratch. We do have a number of vendor databases that have built-in support that we may show briefly here in a few minutes. We also have the spreadsheet importer where you can take an Excel spreadsheet and you can utilize that for importing in updates to items or creating new items, among other functions that it can do. So if you get a list of products from your old point of sale system that you want to bring in, or from a vendor that we don't have support for, you can always utilize that function. But to create a blank item, we're just going to hit add. There is an option where it will automatically fill in the item ID with a random item ID. I don't have that on currently, but if you do select that, it will choose a random 12-digit UPC code. But for the moment, since we didn't have that, we're just going to put in an item ID. Item IDs can be up to 20 characters. I'm just going to copy that for later use so that we can search for it. So item ID is required and must be unique. If you utilize letters, we would highly recommend making those only capital letters. You can use, of course, numbers, letters. You may also use hyphens and underscores, but other punctuation such as apostrophes, quotation marks, dollar signs are not allowed in that field. It will block you from doing that. You also may not include any spaces. Item ID 2 and 3 are less restrictive. They don't have to be unique. You can have several items with the same item ID 2 or 3. You can have the system search those fields when you scan a product. So if you have something that has multiple UPCs or the like, maybe different printings of it use different barcodes, then you can use that to have that on there. The one thing I will warn about is simply that printing a barcode through the system, if you're using a label printer, that will always use item ID 1. So be aware of that. But those fields are not required either. In fact, the only field besides item ID that you have to put something in for is the name. Typically speaking, for a video game, for example, this would be Madden or NCAA 2024 or something along those lines. For a record store, you would usually use the title of the album, not the artist name. The artist name would typically go under description. You can choose to do it in other ways, but if you're importing from a vendor database, it will assume that that is the way you would do it. For books, name is almost always the title, and the description again is the author in that case. Other products, you can choose what the name would be, but the name is what's going to go on your receipt. So the name is really your core descriptive field. Like that's the thing that the product should be known by. So in this case, we're going to call this a sample item. The description is not a required field, but very similar to name. You probably are going to fill that in. Like I said, it could be the artist, it could be the author. For games, a lot of times it's the genre or the manufacturer or something like that. There is a manufacturer field, but sometimes there are several labels on video games. Department and category are other things I want to bring attention to here, and they are ways to group items together for reporting purposes primarily, but also for things like doing promotions or other basic ways of organizing your product. And we'll go over some of those later, but there are different, there's a lot of freedom in how different stores will do this. I will say the most common one for our video game stores and our record stores. For video game stores, the most common way of doing this is that the department ID is, for example, games or hardware or accessories or the type of thing. And then the category ID is very often the console which it is for. So PlayStation 4 or, Nintendo Switch or PlayStation 5 or whatever else. For our record stores, very often the department ID is the format, so vinyl or CD or cassette or 8-track or whatever else. The category ID is very often the main genre, so rock or pop or rap or R&B or whatever else. But those are just the most common ways of doing it. They are perhaps how the vendor databases would support, but you can do whatever you would like. So we're going to just fill out some of this other stuff real quick. We're not going to fill out everything about this product, but a couple things I want to draw attention to. You'll notice that in the view that we're on now, which you can choose if you are not doing used product to hide all the used information, but on this same item ID, we can have both new and used of the same item. So when somebody comes and trades in something they bought from you new, you can take it in trade and it'll be added used. You can also fill in your pricing information here, both your selling prices, which will be new price or used price 1 or 2. But you can also fill in your trade prices for this item for trade credit. Couple other things I just want to highlight really quickly. You can set which tax rates apply to this, which you can support up to 3 different tax rates because a lot of times products such as food may be taxed at a different rate. If you sell snacks or that kind of thing, that might be taxed at a lower sales tax rate than your merchandise. Additionally, there are a number of other functions like pre-ordering and special orders we're probably not going to go into depth on, enforcing age limits, but a lot of that stuff is available on this screen. You can also elect to have a product image. One of the options that you do have here is to serial number an item. That makes it so that when you take an item in trade or return, or when you sell the item, that it will request your serial number so that you can mark that down and track that and report that to the authorities if necessary. When we save this item here, right now we've just got zero price, zero, stock, everything. We have on an option where it will automatically search for that item. If we hit edit, let's say we realized we wanted to set a price after all, so we'll set it to $3.99. We can just do that there really quickly. You can also edit it directly on the grid depending on your settings. So in this case, I have it set up to where I am allowed to do that. That is something you can disable through settings because some people worry about accidentally typing in a number without intending to. So we do have this item set up. We can go under the More menu for many other functions on this, including under Print Labels, we can print a label, but also we can do things like instant purchase order this item. I'm not going to go into depth on purchase orders, either instant or full purchase orders here, but if you're interested in information on that, then you can check out the videos we have available on that. Then I am just going to really quickly show a couple of the vendor databases that we utilize. So one of the big ones for record stores, if you are an Alliance customer, the AAC Enhanced database allows you to search Alliance, including you can show cover art as you search. So we'll do like show images, and we'll just search for the stones here. You can search within specific formats or genres. So, if we search for LPs here, just do a quick little search here. So it'll come up and, for ones where the cover art is available, you can see the art right there. If I uncheck show images, it won't show that, but it'll still bring it in if we were to import it. So let's just pick one of these and bring it in here. So we'll import that product, and you'll see that it's pre-filled and pre-populated a lot of the information about the item, including a suggested price, including the artist and the name, and including the department and category. It also, for notes, has notes about the record, and it has, of course, brought in the cover art. So that can be very nice. You can search by combinations of different things for new releases and that sort of thing. We do also have integrations to AMS and to Discogs. I'm not going to show all of those in depth. There are videos on those topics. And then not quite as imposing because it doesn't have cover art, but we do support it as a subscription service, the video game price chart database for game stores, which I can search if I go to here and then search it, and we'll just search for Madden, for example. And similarly, we could import from here, although again, it would not have cover art, but it does have, as you can see, all of these 243 different versions of Madden. You can also do what's called quick importing with those, where you just scan the item at the register and it will try to bring it in if it's available. That can be a great help for a store just getting off the ground going, to avoid having to do a whole lot of typing to add product as it gets traded in. Only works if the item is in VGPC, but or in another vendor database, but it does save a lot of time. It's a reason why many people choose to go with that subscription. So that's kind of our basic overview of items. And then we're going to move on here to customers. To reach the customers section of the software, it's very similar to items. We're just going to go to store and then customers here. I'm just going to run through this very quickly. So we're going to add a new customer here. It's very similar to items in that you can have it make a number up for you. I'm going to actually just create one. So the customer ID there can be 10 characters, letters and numbers. Again, use capital letters. You can also use hyphens and underscores. You can have some default settings set for new customers, which I actually have set up to set the account active and the credit limit to $15. That's why that's on. That's an option we have on. The only fields that are required here, you have to have a customer ID, which is unique. You have to have a first name and you have to have a last name. So we'll just fill those in. There's obviously many more fields you can set up about a customer, including if they have a company, like it's a business account, you can fill in the company name. You can also set up shipping addresses and primary addresses, phone numbers, all of that stuff. You can set a picture for them. You can scan their driver's license if you have an appropriate hardware scanner and bring in information from that to save yourself some typing. Account active, the checkbox that we do have on there, indicates that this customer is allowed to carry a balance. And if you're only planning on using that to allow people to store credit after they do trades, then you should set turn that on, but set the credit limit to 0, because a negative balance indicates that you owe the customer money. A positive balance indicates that the customer owes you money, because this is able to be used to extend store credit out to customers that they then come in and repay. Which, if you're wanting to do that, great, just set that credit limit higher and you'll allow them to charge to an account that they then pay through checks or whatever later. If you're just wanting to store in trade credits so that you never have customers owe you money, they just are storing money that you owe them for past trades, then just set that limit to 0. Rewards member and rewards expiration, that's used if you are doing rewards points. You can set it up to where you get a point per every dollar you spend or a point per every item you buy. There are options where you can exclude certain items from that. But these are primarily intended for tracking those balances, and then you can set up rewards that they can redeem. So you would want to check out the video on that for more details. You can also have customers with discount cards or customers with promotions. If you have customer specific promotions, those are features that do exist in this software. However, the primary thing that you need customers for are for functions that are at the register that require a customer, such as using an account to pay or to store trade credit. You have the option to require that a customer be entered to do a trade at all, rather than utilizing the default walk-in customer. You can also only do special orders and pre-orders. If you have a customer selected, you can only rent items to a customer. So there are a lot of functions where you have to have a customer associated with it, because just associating it with a walk-in customer, like if you rented to a walk-in customer and you didn't take down any of their information, then you wouldn't be able to get your stuff back in the event that they no-showed you. So, it's primarily a tracking tool for what's going on in the system, especially for functions that require multiple visits and that kind of thing. But there are stores that do choose not to use customers at all. If you're not going to utilize any of those functions, it is not required that you ever set up customers. So we do have stores that choose not to, but I would recommend using it. It can be very helpful. We do have functions to help you email your customers, to send text messages to your customers, in order to keep in contact and try and get them to come back to your business. So if you're going to use them, then you would set them up through here. We can then just save this customer and see. And then at that point, we would be able to select them for an invoice. So the next thing we are going to go through is some basic register functions, where we'll actually put these items and customers to use. So in order to get to the register here from the menu, you would simply go to the register option. It's going to load up the register screen. There are a number of different designs available for the register. There's also a full register designer so that you can set custom colors and remove buttons for functions you don't need and everything. But you'll see that the register has come up when we hit that button. If we hit items or customers or the like, it will actually pop up back in the other window. And then if we hit register, it'll just bring this one back to the front. So you can very easily switch back and forth there. So this is one of the designs that is built into the system for the register. I am not going to use this one for the actual demo because it's a little, colorful. But I'm going to switch that off to, if you just go under System Administration and Register Layout, to one of these standard designs. But many of these designs are built into the system. You can also customize them, of course, further to create your own. So now if we take a look here, this is kind of what's our standard design 2, which is one of the most popular ones among our customers. So you'll notice a few different things here, a few different areas. There are also designs available where there are touch buttons available rather than scanning the item to add commonly used items to your invoice. But you can also scan within a item ID box if that's on your design. And you can also, of course, search if you just hit items. And then if you wanted to search for the item, for example, the item we added earlier here, and then you can just hit select here. And you'll see that it adds it to the invoice here. So it has added it with a promotion because I have a promotion in for 20% off of all products. If we wanted to exclude promotions from the transaction, we can just hit change here and turn off promotions. We could also disable promotions entirely, but I'm probably just going to leave them on. Promotions are a powerful invoicing feature, but they're also very complicated, so we're not going to go over all the different types or anything. Just want to show that that is a thing you can utilize for doing sales. So if we go ahead and just take a look at this item, we can see a few different things about it. Number one, we've added it new because it is not used and it is not a trade-in. If we wanted to mark it used, then before we scan it, we could simply check used or check trade-in as appropriate. If we want to change it now, or if we want to change other aspects of the item, we just make sure we select it. And then under selected item here, we've got a bunch of functions where we can change this item. So for example, under change more, you can change it to be used or to change it to be trade-in. You can apply promotions to specific line items or not. You can mark specific items as being exempt from taxation. All of those are things that you can do from there. If you want to do the much more common functions like change price or change quantity, that's available as separate buttons, simply because they are typically what you're going to want to do. So let's say we wanted to change the price on this to $4.99 because it was damaged, for example. So we can just do a price change there. You can, of course, restrict your employees to not be able to do price changes. You can also restrict their ability to make price changes beyond a certain dollar amount. So you can, for example, say they can't change a price of an item by more than $5. But all of that is going to be an employee setup. We're not going to go through that in detail here. So if you're curious about that, you may want to check out one of the employee videos. So we can add, several items on here. You can do a trade-in and a sale and a return. You can do all of that on the same transaction. But for the moment, just to show kind of how a transaction works, we're going to just hit complete transaction here, and we're going to say this one, they're handing us $10 cash. So we'll just say $10 cash, and it will ask if we want to print a receipt. I'm going to say no, simply because I do not have a receipt printer hooked up. And since it was cash and we overpaid, they're going to tell us how much change we owe the customer. In the event that you are doing something where you are giving the customer money, such as you're doing a trade-in for cash, you would just put in exactly the amount that the customer is giving you. So for example, minus $5 if you're giving the customer $5 even. It does need to be an exact match in the case where you are doing a negative amount. You can't just type in like minus 10 or whatever, because we've found that it reduces cashier error over the years. That if they have to type in exactly the amount to acknowledge that amount, then they are less likely to make a mistake in how much cash they give to the customer. So if we take a look at our register here, In addition to our item ID box that we just showed and the trades and used checkboxes, you can also select, whether a trade-in is for credit or cash or what condition it's in. There are settings that will change if you're using complete or incomplete, or if you're using like A, B, C, D, E grading. All of that will be gone over in depth in the settings videos. But the main thing to know here is that you can set those conditions up and set them so that you can do different levels of trade-ins or sales and discounts based on what kind of shape the item is in. All of that is only for used product. For new product, a new product is the same as any other new product in terms of condition. We do have a feature for collectible copies for things that are more like unique than, things that require specific grading or that are serial numbered or that kind of thing, where it is very different from one item to another, even if it is the same product. But and that does allow you to distinguish between different new copies. But for most merchandise, all new copies are the same. And so just selling the new copy does not utilize any of the conditions stuff. Um, Also on this screen, you can sell a miscellaneous item, which is an item that has not been added to your inventory. It's just if you need to add something to the register screen and do a charge that is not a product that is normally tracked within your store, this is the place to do it. So we would just say, sample, and then we can put in a price and a cost. Cost is the cost to the store. Price is what you're charging the customer. That's true throughout the software. So we'll say that this is $7.99 and we'll say it cost us $3.99. Now we did not mark that as taxed, you'll notice, and so it is not taxed. If we wanted to tax it, we would actually need to remove it and add it again. So if we say, test item. So now if we do it and check the tax 1 box here just by clicking it, and it'll be blue. You can have it show there. You can actually set as an option in settings whether the miscellaneous items are taxed by default, which tax rates apply. So if you're going to use misc item a lot, you probably will want to set that if you typically are taxing things that are sold that way. You can also right there see that you can do gift card sales or special order sales through there. Selling a special order does require a customer to be selected. Selling a gift card does not. We're not going to go over either of those in depth here, but they both have videos on that topic. And I figure I'd just mention that that is a thing that can be done. And then you can also see here that we can very quickly change trade-ins to where all trade-ins are giving the cash price or the credit price. Typically speaking, people will give more in store credit than they will in cash for products. It would be very strange to do it the other way around, but there are customers who do give the same price either way. If we go to the customer section here, we can look up a customer by ID or by their discount card number. We can also, if you go to customers here, we can search for them by their name or by their phone number or any number of other things and select them for, we'll select this one we added for the invoice. If once they're selected, you can see their name, there'll be some other information, and then if they have a balance, it will show their balance there. In the event that they had rewards available to redeem at the time that you select them, it will ask if you want to redeem any of their rewards. And if you do, then it will add those rewards to this transaction because you do have to actually ring those through the register. If we go and hit cancel transaction, even if there's nothing on the invoice, you'll see it resets the customer to walk-in customer. So cancel transaction sets everything back to the basics, regardless of whether you actually have any items on there, but it will discard any items that are on the transaction. So other notable functions that I'm just going to run through very quickly here. If we take a look over on the left, we can access a great many different things. Special orders here is where you can actually redeem or put additional deposits down on special orders. Rentals is where you can return rental items that had been previously checked out. Checking them out is just like selling them, but you do have to have a customer selected. Reports we're going to go over here shortly, but we'll do um, sales reporting or inventory reporting for your system. Repairs allows you to track repairs that you're doing and then charge for the labor at the end. You can also print out a estimate or give a deposit to, have the customer give you a deposit down on the work. Suspend and recall suspended puts the item on the transaction on hold, so that you can bring it back up later. For example, if somebody has lost their wallet, or if somebody does a massive trade and they're like, let me look around and see if there is anything that I want to purchase before I take cash, for instance, you may suspend in that case and then recall it when they come back up. And that way it doesn't tie up the register. Open cash drawer will just pop the drawer and then you can reprint the receipt or check a gift card balance. So those are the other functions that are available here at the register. And again, you can change your design. So if any of those functions, like you don't do repairs, you don't do rentals, you can just simplify that a great deal, remove many of the options that would not ever apply to your store. And then that way you can quickly, kind of make it so it's easier to reach the functions you do need. A lot of people do end up removing, for example, these tender buttons at the bottom, which bypass the normal entry screen. If you hit cash there, for instance, it will just assume you are taking it fully in cash and close out the transaction right away. So a lot of people tend to remove those to prevent misclicking. But that's kind of the register screen. That's obviously a very quick overview of it. So we're going to move on and show some sales reporting here and just talk about reports briefly before we wrap up. So to get to reports, it's in the main menu here. You just select reports. There are more reports than we are going to go over here. There is a full video on these. I'm just going to point out a few of the most critical ones. Starting with under sales and then totals, this is your primary sales report. It's going to have all your information like your sales tax collected, your total sales, all of that kind of thing. You can run it for particular shifts, for particular registers, specific employees. You can also just run it for the day for the whole amount of sales totals. So if we just hit run report here, we'll see that come up. And you can just see the transaction we did earlier on here. Which that's the only one that was done. I selected to do itemized sales, so it does include that. If you're using an e-commerce integration, one of the e-commerce integrations we have available with BigCommerce, WooCommerce, Shopify, you can see those there. If we go to the text report one here, you can get the same information just in a different format. And you can also print the particular report to a receipt printer, which can allow for you to have it in a format that is specific. Both of those are specific to this report. Most other reports are only available in the 8.5 11 or 11 by 8.5 report format. But the sales total report is available in a few different formats just because of how critical it is. So I'm just going to go over what other reports exist really quickly here. So you've got your breakdown of sales by different things such as category or department. You can also do it by the hour or the day of the week to kind of get an idea for when your store is the busiest. Under items, item list is probably the most important report. Under this section, that just gives you an export of all of your items. It is broken out by new versus used for this version of the report. There are other exports that exist where you can see both on the same report, but this one is formatted in such a way that you could print it out if you really wanted to, where a lot of the ones that list both are too wide to really print and are much more suitable for using within Excel or something like that. Audit quantity changes and price changes and cost changes. Those are security functions that let you keep a lockdown on your inventory, see who is making changes to your inventory, to your prices and your stock levels and everything. And then, you can view your top selling items. You can view a bunch of different ways of looking at like items that are selling well, items that you've purchase ordered, that kind of thing, at your consignor totals. Like there are literally 100 or more different reports available, and we're not going to try to go through all of them, but just this is the main place to look. We do also, in addition to these pre-built reports, we do also have a report generator that's available under Tools and then Report Generator. This is for more specific fields, but you can do things like inventory and select what columns and what filters you want on it. So for those tables, it can be a lot more powerful in the sense that you can get something you specifically need as opposed to something that is built for more general use that would have fields that are widely applicable but that maybe are not of concern to you. So again, that's under Tools and then Report Generator. We do also have a number of tie-ins for reporting to industry-specific services such as Leads Online for game stores that are taking trades that need to report their traded-in items to the authorities, or to Luminate or to Ingram. Those are ones that we do for reporting your sales to organizations that collect and collate that data between stores that you may have a deal with. Street Pulse is another like that for the record stores that are likely to have that sort of partnership. That functionality is available. That's just under Tools and then FTP reports. But for most purposes, you can look under reports here and see if we have it somewhere, under these different types of reports for like customer lists or, things about your consigners, your employees, your special orders. Just in general, we probably have a report about it if you can do it in the system. But take a look at the reports section of the videos and tutorials for more information. Or you can, of course, always ask us. So if you're interested in more information, I want to show you a few plays that you can get more about the software. Number one, as mentioned at the start of this video, you can get a demo for yourself of the Windows software to try out. We do also have videos available of other topics. Those are all at youtube.com/extremepos. If you do have the demo and you're looking for more resources here, you just will go under Help, and then under YouTube page, you'll see a link to our videos. Online Manual is a PDF manual that will explain how to utilize the software. Under Tutorials, there are graphical tutorials that are a slideshow that will walk you through different sections. And then, of course, you can always reach out to us. So for questions on the support side, you can reach out through the email address support@thunderpos.com or the phone number 919-387-7597 extension 101. For sales, it's the same phone number but extension 100. But if you want to try the demo out, if you want to play with the software yourself, then absolutely feel free to do so. We would encourage it. We would be thrilled to help you get it set up so that you can try it out for yourself. So just reach out to us. We'll look forward to hearing from you. We will also have a video going through the web version of the software, in addition to the Windows version, which can be used alongside the Windows version if you choose to. So you may want to check that video out in particular as well.